Chapter 6. The Pitch. Kian Vossen didn't touch the keyboard immediately. He sat back in his ergonomic chair, the mesh creaking softly in the freezing silence of the server cavern. He picked up the crumpled piece of paper Lena had slammed onto his desk, holding it up to the light of his monitors like a religious relic. "You know what this looks like to me, Doctor?" he asked, his eyes scanning the binary sequence. "It looks like a checksum," Lena said, her arms crossed to preserve warmth. "No. To a physicist, maybe. To me, this looks like a backdoor." Kian spun the paper around. "This specific Hamming code structure? It's elegant, efficient. It's designed to verify integrity without slowing down the read/write cycle. If I were building a system to monitor 8 billion users without them knowing, this is exactly the kind of script I'd write." He looked at her, and the amusement in his eyes hardened into suspicion. "Which is why I don't believe you found it in a particle collider." "I did," Lena insisted, "at 14 tera-electronvolts." "Bullshit," Kian said calmly. He tossed the paper back onto the desk. "You're Lena Mirek. You work for CERN. CERN is funded by 23 member states, all of whom have intelligence agencies that would kill to crack the encryption on the global banking system. You didn't find this in a boson decay. You found it in a government repository, and you're here to see if I can weaponize it." Lena stared at him. The skeptical phase the outline had predicted was here. He didn't doubt the code, he doubted the source. "You think I'm a spy?" Lena asked, incredulous. "I just told you they deleted me. My bank accounts, my passport, my identity. Why would they scrub their own agent? Burn notice. Deep cover. Or maybe you just pissed off the wrong handler." Kian shrugged. "It doesn't matter. I'm not running this script. If this is what I think it is, a universal root key, executing it on a network this size would trip every watchdog algorithm from here to the Pentagon. I like my anonymity, Doctor. Get out of my bunker." He turned back to his screens, dismissing her. Lena didn't move. She knew she had to pivot. She had to translate the physics into his language. She had to show him the math behind the lag. "It wasn't just the code, Kian," she said, stepping around the desk so she was in his peripheral vision. "It was the latency." Kian's fingers hovered over the keys. "Latency?" "The collision," Lena said, speaking faster now. "When we smashed the ions, the system hung. The timestamp froze $4.00004 nanoseconds. The energy density spiked, the calculations became too complex for the local processor, and the simulation lagged." Kian stopped typing. He turned his head slightly. "Lag? Yes, like a frame rate drop in a video game when there are too many explosions on screen." "I know what lag is," Kian muttered. "But reality doesn't lag. Light doesn't wait for traffic." "It does if the processor is overloaded," Lena countered. "And that's not all. The noise I found surrounding the glitch, it wasn't random static. It was structured." She reached over his shoulder, ignoring his flinch, and grabbed the mouse. She opened a terminal window and began to type. She didn't type code. She typed the raw frequency data of the static she had memorized. "Look at the distribution," she said. "It's not Gaussian. It's not thermal." Kian leaned in, his eyes narrowing. He watched the numbers scroll. He recognized the pattern immediately. "That's a nonce," he whispered. "A what?" "A nonce. Number only used once," Kian explained, his voice losing its edge of hostility, replaced by pure intellectual curiosity. "In blockchain cryptography, when you want to verify a block of transactions, You have to solve a complex math problem. You guess a random number, a nonce, until the output hash starts with a specific number of zeros. He pulled the keyboard back, typing furiously now. He ran a comparison script between Lena's static and the transaction logs of the Bitcoin ledger. Miners burn massive amounts of electricity to find these nonces, Kian said, his eyes darting back and forth. It's useless work, mathematically speaking. It's just proof of work to secure the chain. He hit enter. The two graphs overlaid perfectly. This, Kian breathed. This isn't just static. This is steganography. Someone or something is hiding data inside the background radiation of the universe, using the same hashing algorithm we use for cryptocurrency. He looked up at Lena, his face pale in the blue light of the monitors. The skepticism was gone. You're saying the universe is a blockchain? He asked. I'm saying the universe is an optimized system, Lena corrected. And just like a blockchain, it needs to verify its own history. That lag I saw? That was the system verifying the block. It paused reality to make sure the physics added up. Kian stood up. He paced the small circle of his workstation, his mind racing. If that's true, he said, then we aren't just looking at a simulation. We're looking at a shared resource. The same processing power that renders your atoms is the same power I'm using to encrypt my servers. He stopped and looked at the crumpled paper with the Hamming code. And this, he said, picking it up again, is the admin override. Can you use it? Lena asked. Kian looked at the code, then at the massive server farm humming around them, his life's work, a fortress of digital secrecy. He realized that if Lena was right, there were no secrets. There were no walls. There was only the code. I can't just run it, Kian said, a dangerous grin forming on his lips. If this code does what you say it does, if it forces the system to acknowledge an error, we can't just ping it. We have to provoke it. He sat back down and cracked his knuckles. We need to create a transaction so big, so complex, and so contradictory that the system has no choice but to pause and ask for instructions, Kian said. We need to make the universe lag again, but this time we do it on purpose. Lena felt a shiver that had nothing to do with the cold. She had found her breaker. How? She asked. You bring the physics, Kian said, his fingers flying across the keys, initiating a new protocol. I'll bring the exploit.